Okay, everyone, welcome to episode 14 of the Pyramid Pod. With me today, I have Zaid. Why don't you start by just giving a little introduction about yourself?
Hello, everyone. Little introduction about me. Okay, so in the Matrix, I'm a law student. I'm doing international law. I'm also a poet sometimes, and just a very sensitive individual in this world, trying to find my way, discovering truths, and trying to ground myself and for others on this journey. Yeah, that's generally me. Nothing too
Yeah,
specific.
that's an awesome
Right.
introduction. I didn't know that you were a law student.
Yeah, yeah.
How long have you been studying?
I'm in my fourth year now, and I'm graduating in January actually. So I'm done now. Yeah, I
Oh,
still have a few steps. Sorry.
that'll feel good to be done with school.
Yeah, it's been so long. It's such a big part of life, and like for the past 17 years I've been studying. It's
Wow.
like since kindergarten, I guess, if you count that. But yeah, it feels good to finally finish. I'm excited to just have more time to do things for myself.
Yeah, exactly. What do you want to do with your law degree?
I do want to become a lawyer at some point. I still do have a few more steps before I'm able to do that. But I did it in international law, so I'm interested in that area of the law, generally speaking. But yeah, I'm just gonna see where things take me.
Nice. Yeah, I feel like I've always been interested in like pursuing a law career too. I think it's something about people that are interested in the truth are interested in the law, because there should be like an overlap between the truth and the law, you know?
Yeah, mm,
And you said you're living in Great Britain.
yeah, I am in England. Yeah,
Nice. I'm a
I've
big
been here. Yeah. Mm.
you watch the Premier League at all, or not care much?
No, not really. I'm not a football fan.
Okay.
Yeah. Are you?
Yeah, I watch from time to time. Yeah, I'm a
Okay.
Liverpool fan.
Oh, I've been to Liverpool, if anything.
Yeah, I've been to Europe a few times, but I've never been to England yet.
Mhm. Yeah. No, you should definitely. There's loads of nice places around, like aside from the capital, like London. There's loads of nice cities. Um, I live in the greenest city in Europe, in Sheffield.
Oh,
Um,
Sheffield,
which is
nice.
yeah, which is really cool. We've also got the world's oldest football team, I think. Uh, so
Sheffield United.
I think so. I think so, yeah.
Nice. Well, you'll have to go to a game. They might be fun.
Yeah, I worked there at some point, just part-time in a kitchen, washing dishes at some point. Um, and yeah, they'd have the games on like live, but I'd be in the kitchen, so I wouldn't actually see anything.
Gotcha,
Um,
gotcha.
yeah.
Well, every job matters. You gotta serve dishes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess one topic that I wanted to kind of jump in with you specifically on this podcast is dreams, dream interpretation, dream messages, just your overall feelings about like the dream realm. What happens when we sleep? What goes on? You know, I'm just curious to hear what your take on all that is.
I love I love the dream world. um, Such an exciting topic for me because it's so complicated. We don't have any clear answers, do we? And we all have our own understanding of what dreams are. But for me personally, dreams have always been such an important aspect of my reality, and how I walk through this world. And I remember it being such an important thing as maybe I was like 8, and that's when I had my first, those dreams you get, and then the exact thing you dreamt of happens later in life. I was 8 when that had happened to me, and it totally blew my mind. Like it was just a simple thing of me like opening a chocolate bar in a car, but something was happening at the same time. And I had dreamt it. And the thing about that moment is that it was different from a deja vu. Um, because I remember dreaming the dream first and recognizing that I had dreamt it and then it happening in the exact same way. So I was like, wait, like I was still a kid, so I didn't understand what was going on. Um, but yeah, that's when it caught my attention for the first time, just opening a chocolate bar in a dream and then having that happen in real life. But what also fed my enthusiasm and love for dreams is that my family, the women in my family especially, would always talk about dreams and dream interpretation so casually, just like over dinner, over coffee, or whatever, just on the phone. Like, oh, I dreamt of this person. And then my mom would answer her sister, going like, oh, it must be that, like this happening. Or it must be that they're talking about you or something. Or having a dream of a like deceased relative and my mom would get these dreams from her grandfather who had passed away when I was young, and he'd visit and tell her things that are going on in the family, like you need to do this, someone is pregnant, this is happening. And then my mom would just tell her sisters or my grandma, and just witnessing that growing up happen so casually, I think programmed my brain to just always be on alert to what's going on with me in the dream world. And yeah, ever since then, growing up, it's been such an important part of my life. Um, you
Yeah, I think the more like conscious you become of your dreams and the more you factor that into your like waking reality, I definitely think it shifts the way that you live, you know?
yeah.
And I've always had a specific question about dreams where sometimes I'll have a dream and my dream recall is pretty good. Like I usually remember when I wake up what I dreamed. And sometimes I'll like have a scene play out with different characters, you know, and it'll feel very much like, okay, I think these were all projections of my subconscious, you know, like
Mm,
I'm creating this like dreamscape. Um, but then other times I'll have a dream where I'm like, this felt much more like being visited in my dreams, you know, and I think like that's that crazy balance in the dream world where it's like how much of it is internal and how much of it is like, or are we going somewhere in the dream realm and having
mm.
real experiences with other like spirits, you know?
Yeah, no, definitely. I know what you mean. I just saw a tweet like literally a few hours ago that was like, it's insane how everyone in the dream realm is you. That's just you. And then someone replied, everyone is you at the same time. So it is, it's very weird, like duality in a way you could say, or not even duality, just like very opposing things. Like,
Yeah, like
is
a
it all
paradox.
me or is it other people? Or for me personally, I think it's a mix of both. Um, because I've had dreams, or friends of mine have had dreams of me, for example, when I was going through a rough time. And they'd reach out like, hey, you came to me in a dream and like something is up, just out of the blue. And they'd be on point, like very detailed dreams explaining what's going on with me in my own reality when I was feeling stuck at certain points. And then I'd have dreams of people. For example, once I had a dream of, I was just dreaming, like going around in a house, and then I'm going down the stairs. And as soon as I turn around on the staircase, I see a friend of mine that I hadn't seen in 4 years or even spoken to. Like this guy, my friends and I knew. We were in school with him, and we just lost contact after school, and we hadn't talked at all. And suddenly he's there in the dream world, and I'm like, wait, why are you here? It was very shocking in that moment to have him in the dream world. And then we talk for a bit, and he asks a few questions, and I think nothing of it. I wake up. And the same day, my flatmate tells me, guess who reached out to me today? And it's the same guy. And then later he decides to visit us. And when he visits, where we were living, he, during one of our conversations, he asks me questions that were very similar to the ones in the dream world. So in those moments, I really do have the same question, like, how can we have these dreams that are about the future, things that are totally out of mind, and have them correspond with the reality in such a fascinating way? So yeah, I definitely do believe there's something bigger than just it being in our own little mind.
Yes.
Um, mm,
If if it was all just like a projection of our own subconscious, then there shouldn't be any way for like someone to learn something about you through their dreams without some input on your end, of like, yeah, it's
yeah,
fascinating. And there's also cases where people, like, I've had this happen where we have the same dream, where we like co-dream together, and you're like, that's crazy. Like, what is the phenomenon that can explain that?
mm, definitely. Um, the thing about, like, I always do see conversations where people say it's only your subconscious mind, and my instant like thought when that is raised is, even if it is just our subconscious mind, like that goes to show how psychic we really are without even realizing. Like, we're always interpreting reality on such a deep level without even being aware of ourselves doing that consciously. Like, it's literally just being processed. So even if our dreams at some point we discover are just creations of our minds, that just goes to show how powerful the mind is, or the body, or our senses. Like, we're scanning reality all the time on such deep levels, and we're able to analyze it on deep levels without even having to choose to do that. It just happens.
Yeah,
So,
I read a book that was kind of about like the evolutionary function of dreams, and how like in your daily waking reality, especially like I think most people, like, we're concerned with fairly surface level things of like feeding ourselves, providing shelter to our family, like kind of going through the motions, the matrix, getting our law degree, getting our engineering, whatever. We're kind of focused in that like realm of thought, but we're still taking in all this excess psychic data that we are storing in our subconscious, and that like the dream realm has a way of making the important stuff resurface. Like, if you ignored
mm,
something in your waking reality that is
mm.
actually important to your path or to your journey, like, it'll resurface in the dream realm for you to face it in the dream realm, and it's like your subconscious forcing you to work through that.
Yeah, like, no, you got triggered today. Don't ignore that. This upset you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
definitely. That has happened. Um, yeah, definitely. And that's what I love about the team world as well. I've worked through a lot of um, traumas and pains that I had to work through just through the dream world. Um, and I've practiced like lucid dreaming at some point. I'm not very good at it right now. I think I'm just like very busy. um, and I haven't practiced like taking notes of my dreams or any of that. But at some point I did, and I was sleeping very well. I was living in a house where there was no sound around me. Like, it was complete quiet, so I could get that deep rest. And I was meditating a lot during that time as well. And I'd have those dreams where I'd visit people that I wanted to talk to about things that have happened in the past. And I'd sit with them. And in these moments, I become very conscious that I'm in a dream and I'm capable of just allowing myself to heal now. So I'd have these conversations and talk and talk and talk. And then later in life, my relationships with these people would instantly transform and become easier. And I'm not jumping to say that, oh, like I was in contact with them. I might who knows, maybe I was in contact with a higher version of them or their soul or any of that. But what I truly do believe is that because I was doing that healing during my sleep when my body was resting, I was able to unlock those knots, like to undo them, to untie them, so that they don't show up in these relationships anymore. So maybe even if there were triggers coming up in the dynamic, they're not as heavy on me. They're not as, they don't catch my attention the same way. And this happened very naturally, I believe, because it was being done on such a deep level during sleep. I'd also use hypnosis sometimes before sleep to work on like certain beliefs that I had about myself, ideas that I carried. And the reason I chose to do hypnosis is also because I had a dream about doing hypnosis. So yeah, the dream world is very, very important to me.
Yeah, and I bet like I I bet the more seriously you take the dream world and the more like emphasis you put on like what you trust of the information you receive in the dream world, like I feel like that probably heightens your psychic senses and you probably get more out of your relationship with your dreams by like viewing them with that perspective, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Dreams, man. They're crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what else. I okay, so I have another theory that's kind of like relating to dreams, but is about like other forces, you know, not even necessarily like your friends and stuff. But I think we all have like angels and guides that kind of like look out for us. And it makes sense to me that the place that they would contact us is in the dream realm. And sometimes I feel like in my dreams I'm like working with other forces that are trying to like prepare me for my life and stuff.
Yeah, no, definitely. I feel like I've attended schools in
Yeah.
the dream world, like full-on classrooms that felt like they were being instructed by powerful souls or beings. Or I've had dreams as well where, as like when you mentioned being guided, you pointed to your side, because in the dream world, when you're being guided by some force, they're usually like walking next to you. I find, for me. I don't know if it's the same for you, but that's my experience. Yeah, they're always like next to me if it's a guide, and they're just walking with me in the dream world, and they're talking about something. I'm just like taking it in, and I don't always remember what we talked about when we wake up, but it's there.
Yeah, I'm
there.
trying to get back on like being better about writing down all my dreams. And also I was going through a phase like a year and a half ago where I was pretty good at getting lucid inside the dreams. Um and honestly, I think weed hurts me like in the dream. I notice like I usually go like a couple months I'll smoke and then I'll take a couple months off. And I noticed that when I stop smoking, I have much clearer dream recall and I'm more lucid in the dreams. So I'm
Yeah.
about to take another couple month break. So I'll let you know if I
No, yeah. Apparently, when you smoke weed, the part of your brain that goes into REM sleep, like rapid eye movement sleep, which is when you dream, it's it's sort of like numbed out. Like it's not as active during your sleep. But what your brain does is it stores all of that like REM sleep you have to have just like in the backlog, like, oh, we need to catch up on this later. So as soon as you stop smoking, or on nights when you do not smoke at all, you start having these dreams because your brain's like, oh, like we can activate this now. We can, like, I want to find the research on this and send it to you.
No,
It's very interesting.
that honestly makes a lot of sense.
Mm,
Do you ever feel like you said you're a poet as well, right?
yeah.
Do you ever get inspiration to write from the dreams?
Yeah. I do. Um, yeah, I have poetic dreams sometimes where there's a lot of symbolism. Um, I do bring a lot from the dream world into my writing. Because even my poetry itself is a lot about dreams, and it's a lot about just like different realms and what's real and all of that. So um, I have this poem where it's like I had a dream of us healed. I had a dream of us walking through the garden healed, no threat in sight. That's it. That's like, but that was from a dream where I was actually walking with someone, and we were walking through a garden, and it felt like there was so much angelic light around us in the garden, and as if they were showing me like there is a possibility of being in this garden healed. And it was my grandma's garden, and there's a dog that lives there in that garden. So I was telling the person next to me, like, oh, be careful, there's a dog here, like he might attack us. And he's like, no, there's no dog. Like the dog's not here. So I was like, oh no, wow, like there's no threat in sight. And I just woke up and wrote that. And it feels like such a personal piece to me, because even though it's such a short, just a couple of lines, uh, it was such a powerful dream that reminded me that healing is a real possibility. And you know,
Yeah. Um, we're all on our own healing journey for sure. I've been taking it very easy this last couple months. I just moved to San Diego,
mm,
and for me, I think what the I think maybe the biggest influence on my healing has been the ocean. I don't know if you have like a specific element or like a place that you go, but for me, like whenever I'm in any kind of funk, I just jump in the ocean and I'll go like
mm,
swim for 10 minutes. And I swear I'm just like all of it's just gone. Like I literally just like
yeah,
I'll just tell the ocean like you can take all that and just 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 let me let it go, you know.
yeah, love that, love that. Uh, mm.
Have you been in Britain your whole life or did you move there?
I've only moved here when I started studying. Um, grew up in Jordan. Um, I've lived all my life there, and it's a very beautiful country, Jordan, and I miss it sometimes. I visit whenever I can. But yeah, I've been here for now, and yeah, I'm gonna be here for a while, I think. Yeah,
Nice. It's
yeah.
not a bad place to be. Are you
Yeah, no,
doing
it's very green in my city, so I like that. Yeah.
is it in-person classes for your college or online classes right now?
But it was online for this year. Yeah,
Really?
all of it was online. I think for this semester, people have switched back to face-to-face teaching, but for my part of it, it was all online for the rest of the year.
Gotcha. Yeah,
Mm.
I did one semester of online school and I don't know how much I got out of it. I don't
Did you not like it?
I mean, yeah, actually let's talk about this because I'm torn on the new like Zoom world,
Mm.
you know,
Mm.
where obviously like
The metaverse.
yes, the metaverse. There's pros and cons, right? Because I think like on one end, I think making everything virtual and letting people attend classes, work from home, like it does give people more autonomy over their own lives.
Mm.
You know, like
Yeah.
you're not quite stuck on this rigid schedule, so you have more
Mm.
control. And I think that's a really good thing.
Yeah.
But I do miss just like more in-person communication. So
Yeah.
like lately I've been doing the farmers markets every week.
Mm.
And it's just nice to like get out there and just talk to people again, you know, like and
Mm.
just connect not through technology. Just take out the technology middleman. Escape the metaverse just for a second, you know?
Mm.
Because yeah, I'm curious, where do you see things going with the metaverse and just like societal trends? Like what's your you don't have to go there if you don't want to.
No, it's all right. It's all right. We can go there. I don't know. As you said, it does give us more liberty, to have more of a personal life. And that's what I liked about online uni. Um, just doing everything at my own time and not having to get up on days where I just want to like stay in bed. Like I could just put my laptop on and attend class. Like that felt nice, you know, that felt very nice. But at the same time, yeah, I missed interactions as well. Like I love going out now and seeing people like in crowds. Like,
Yeah.
yes, like I missed that. It's nice. Um, but I do see how like especially the metaverse thing coming into the world, it's a lot to do with isolation. And like sort of how I see it is like I see these boxes on Zoom, like we're in these boxes and we're just like each in our boxes.
Yeah.
And then it reminds me of the Matrix, like the movie, The Matrix, of each of us
Yeah.
being in this in these cubicles. And the life is being sucked out of us for this artificial life. And
Yeah.
it's it's sad.
It is.
Like, you know, like I worked at a COVID testing site for a while, okay, and where I just guide people through doing the tests and everything, and then would have these elderly people who'd come, and they're usually not registered for the test, so you have to register them on the spot. So I'd register them. I have to fill out their information and everything, and then I'd ask them, "Oh, do you have a phone number?" They're like, "No." "Do you have an email?" They're like, "No, no, I don't do any of that." And like, I love that. And I see myself becoming that person
Yes.
in regards to like the metaverse, you know, like everyone's gonna probably be with their headphones and their eye goggles at
Yeah.
some point. I don't want to do that. It's gonna be tempting. Like I know it's gonna be tempting because it's probably gonna be very cool.
No.
It's probably gonna become a part of how we interact with the world, and it will take off. These people are powerful. Like Facebook is not like whatever they do is gonna roll out, whether we like it or not. Unfortunately, you know. But as much as I can, I want to stay in contact with the earth and like take myself out of the matrix as much as I can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I I agree. I think one thing that I'm sad about that I see it like a potential trend is I think they're gonna try to move like they're gonna try to make live music into a
Mm,
metaverse experience, you know,
mm,
where you put on your headset and you like attend a concert at your house and they're gonna try to like say it's for safety, crowd control, these type of things. But live music is just like one of my for me like one of the reasons to be alive at all, you know, like to go listen to live music and kind of what you were saying about like us being boxes on screens and stuff and like communication for me like so much of it is nonverbal and even like
mm,
it's literally like when people are communicating, right, like we each have electromagnetic fields around us that are like more than we are conscious of, like our
mhm,
fields are interacting and relaying information and we're picking up on way more than what is communicated verbally or even through facial expressions and stuff. And so I think like that's just something that will never be able to be a part of like you'll never have that intimacy in a connection
mm.
through screens, through Zoom, through text, you know, it's
Yeah.
but at the same time I can't complain because I also built a whole business off of Twitter and
Mm.
And I love that I get to call people on the opposite side of the world and have conversations. So
Yeah.
I try to stay positively focused, but I can't lie. There's definitely a dystopian edge to all of it,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Mm.
But I stay positive. So
Mm. Well, definitely. But I got that, like the live music just like radiating through a room, like that vibration of speakers, even it's something, or someone on a guitar. It's different than just watching something online. Um, but yeah, I think an important part through all of this is to like remember, for me personally at least, to to stay in touch with our soul, you know, with the soul and that deep heart inside of us and connection to God and like throughout whatever happens in this world, we should I feel like we should always think of like the people coming after us, like next generations um or what, like the future, like your bloodline in a way. And I want, like, if I do have kids at some point, I want them to be connected to the earth. You know, I don't want them to just
yeah.
be online all the time. The online world will probably exist, maybe, who knows? But I still want them to value the earth because there's so much, there's so much
Yeah.
on this planet, and it's real. It's not made up. It's not another system.
It's not
It's real.
a conspiracy. Nature is not a
Yeah.
yeah, no, I feel really blessed. Like in my own childhood, my mom was like, it helped that we were broke. So we didn't have a lot of money for like TVs and technology and iPads and stuff. But like I spent just my whole childhood camping, you know, and road tripping and backpacking and swimming and nature and exploring and like digging holes and, you know, just like kid stuff, you know,
Yeah.
and now like I'm just so grateful for it because I feel that connection with the earth, you know,
Yeah.
and I am the same way where like it's really important to me that I pass that on to my kids
Mm.
eventually. You know, I don't because I like even I have a lot younger brothers that
Mm.
are like one of them just turned 14 last week and then the other one's 11. And my mom's like still pretty good about like making them go outside. But
Oh,
like
wow.
they've got their Xbox, they've got their
Mm.
iPhones, you know, like and they're better than I think most kids in this new generation in terms
Mm.
of like detachment from technology.
Mhm.
But still, like, I just, a lot of these kids, like, they're, they're already in the metaverse, you know, whether it's like most of their social interaction, for example, is like playing Minecraft on a server with a bunch of other people. And it's like so much of the life that they're living and the experiences that they're creating is like inside a digital platform. And
Mm.
like I think that can be fun, you know, in some ways. Like me and my roommate are playing an RPG right now that I'm enjoying and I don't feel like it's like sucking my soul, you know, but but I do just like I wonder what's going to happen especially with like on top of video games and technology and then you introduce also like all these kids like my 14-year-old brother has to wear a mask to school every day and he has to put it on between bites at lunch, you know, and it's between bites, dude. Like,
What?
I'm sorry, that's to me,
No.
like that's wild,
Oh.
you know. And I just think back to like how formative my childhood years were in how I
Oh.
see myself and see the world.
Mm.
And I try to like extrapolate like what kind of a psychological impact is technology and COVID and fear mongering, what is that going to have on the psyche of the next generation and how they see themselves in the universe, you know?
Yeah, yeah, 100%, 100%. Yeah, like I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, like one of the ways I identify myself is as someone who's here to ground for myself and for others. Because as you said, even like our generation, people our age are already lost in we can get lost in that world, you know. I can spend days on my phone, just
Yeah.
on my phone, you know, like get lost there. Um, so it's yeah, it's insane to think about. And what's really unfortunate is that it's so easy as a child to get out of your body, like, to just completely dissociate and
Yeah.
go somewhere else, you know, whether it's out of excitement or sadness or whatever. And having the screen in front of you and just like taking you out of your
Yeah.
body like that, like you start existing as this avatar.
Yeah.
Like I remember at some point when I was a kid, I can't remember what game it was, but I played this game for a while and I started dreaming as that avatar. Like my mind disconnected from my body
Yeah.
because I was playing that game so often. And it's like what's scary about it is that, like, for me, I always think, you know, when Facebook just went out for a while, a couple of months ago or weeks, and just like completely shut down for a few hours.
Yeah, I remember that.
Like, what if that happens on a larger scale? What happens to these kids whose nervous systems and minds are so wired to being on a screen? Like, what if, because something could happen, you know, like these are still artificial systems.
Yeah.
What if that's taken away suddenly? Like, what happens to the body? That's scary.
Have you have you seen Ready Player One?
I'm not sure. I don't think so.
It's I'll give you like a 20-second synopsis. It's basically about like a future dystopian world where someone creates like a virtual reality experience where you have like basically a trackpad that you can run on that will like keep you stationary in your house, but in the virtual world, like you're actually running, and you have this avatar in this other world, and you can do anything, collect tokens, like check yourself out. But anyways, like what happens in the movie is people become so, you're right, like out of their body and start identifying more with their character in this virtual reality, that like when things happen in the virtual reality, like people will end their real life because they had to start over in this virtual life, you know. And it's crazy because I do think that, like, who knows, we could have a solar flare, we could have an electromagnetic thing, we could just like wiped the internet, you know, like
Oh,
I think about that sometimes. Yeah, and it's honestly like those kind of thoughts are why I recently like pivoted my business from being 90% online sales, 10% like in-person sales, to basically completely flipping it, where I've just
yeah.
like been focusing all my efforts on what's right in front of me, you know, what's real, you
Mm,
know,
mm,
like no matter what, like this farmer's market's gonna run, you know.
yeah.
And it's, I think it's created a healthier relationship between me and my platform, because that's something I've also like lately I'm trying to be more conscientious of, is like you said yourself that like sometimes like we're not above this, sometimes we can get dragged into the metaverse and we can like spend days spending too much time on our phones and stuff. Yeah. And I just want to be like really conscientious of how I use my platform, why I use my platform, you know, and to use it just as like an avenue for self-expression, and not like I want to not care about engagement at all, you know, like I just
Mm,
want to do it for the creative artistic aspect, and then just let that be there,
mm,
you know. And
mm.
I
Yeah,
think I
like
see that
finding
in your platform too. Like I always, I feel like I always see your stuff and it's just like refreshing, you know. I'm like, oh, Zaid's like, he's out in nature, he's in the forest, like just living.
yeah. Oh yeah. I remember when I first joined Twitter on this account that I have now, and I feel like I went through so many spiritual stages with this account. Because when I first joined, I was so eager about like having a reach and wanting people to listen to me. And um like it's funny having lived through that and being here now where I'm like same as you. Like, no, this is just a platform to connect with people. Like, I love Twitter now because, like, all the people I follow, they share such beautiful things and they all have a lot to offer, a lot of beautiful information. And just keeping that at that to me has done so much more for my like spiritual growth than being invested in
Yeah.
a reach or whatever. Um, yeah, so yeah, I think it's about finding your own relationship with it. Like I do appreciate that there are people who are doing great stuff in the online world, and it takes so much effort there uh, to reach people and to have a large engagement and to keep up with that. Like it's a job. My friend the other day was like, "Oh, all these influencers, they don't do anything and they make all this money." I'm like, "No, that's a job. It must be exhausting being an influencer. It must be exhausting." And yeah, it's how the world is right now, though. Yeah.
I had a question that like came up in my mind like a few minutes ago when you said that you would like you started dreaming from the perspective of the avatar of the video game that you were playing. Like, do you ever feel like in our waking reality, like we're in that same situation where from like a more like a more spiritual essence, like we are in this like natural metaverse, you know, and that we are like dreaming as an avatar that in it like the game of life. I don't know if that
Yeah, yeah. No, one of my favorite quotes is I don't know how it's it's so funny, like my favorite quote, and I don't know how exactly it goes. But it's a quote I like that goes something like are you ever in a dream and you feel so caught up in it, and then as soon as you wake up, you're like, oh, it was just a dream. That's how death is gonna be.
yeah.
It's like waking up from this like illusion, or and because yeah, like if you trace back like where we come from in a way, it's just that God point, you know, it's like the eternal, the absolute, and fracturing down into experiencing this reality. And sometimes you're like, why are we doing this? Why? uh, but yeah, I definitely do resonate with that idea. But something about explaining our reality as a
Simulation.
simulation. Yeah.
I've never resonated with that
Yeah,
quite like
same. Like when people say that to me, it's funny because it's the same as just any other time in history where we used the highest form of intelligence we can find to explain our reality.
yeah.
And that's it. That's what we're doing. It's such a primal, intuitive instinct to just say, "Oh, we must be in a simulation," because that's what we see every day.
Yeah. And
Simulated realities.
and maybe okay, like I don't think that we're in a simulation. And I think that people that spend a lot of time in like solitude and in nature tend to also like come to the conclusion that like the word simulation doesn't do it justice for what reality life is. You know, it just
Mm.
um yeah, it just doesn't do it justice. But I think we could live through an era of technological advancement where people do start genuinely living in simulations, you know, with like Neuralink and and all this like wave of technology, which I'm not going to pretend to understand,
Once as
but
well.
like it would not surprise me if in our lifetime we have the technology to like, I don't know, zap your consciousness into some virtual avatar in a simulated reality. And I could see them even like trying to sell it as immortality, like you can live in this simulated Elon Musk reality forever. And like to me, like I'm gonna pass on that. Like that sounds like hell. Honestly, like if there's a hell, it's
Mm,
living forever in Elon Musk's like pet project. But
mm,
part of me thinks it could be like predictive programming. Like you live in a simulation, you live in a simulation, you live in a simulation, and like they're gonna offer you a simulation to live in. And you're like, I already live in a simulation. Why not? Like,
whatever. Yeah, might as well. Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, 100%. I was thinking of this yesterday. Like if we do end up living in these simulated realities, and then your body dies in real life, but then your consciousness can move on and just exist as the data.
mhm.
But that's not you. Like
Yeah.
exactly. Like it would think it is you, but then there's gonna be a you outside of that that has actually died and has moved on to something else. And it's,
Would it just like
it's
fracture you or like
what
I don't think
happens.
anyone knows, first of all, but
What happens. So yeah, I don't want to find out. I don't want to do that.
yeah. No, I'll stick with this avatar for now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's all interesting. It's a crazy time to be alive. I think that's one thing like everyone can agree on is that it's a
It's
wild time
insane.
to be alive. And I try to like live in appreciation of that
Mm,
because I love excitement and like progress and just I love just different realities and like seeing them and observing them and like being grounded in my own truth and knowing like the life that I want to live. Like I think that gives me a lot of peace with letting other things play out. Cause
yeah.
I think
Yeah.
kind of similar to you, like when I first started my Twitter, like I was like, I don't want to say I was on like a crusade, but I was like, I'm gonna like change the way like everyone thinks, like, and I'm gonna like convince people that like this is bad and this is good, and like it's just not yeah, eventually I was just like, why do I care? And once I like really like ask myself the uncomfortable questions, that's when I got like much more comfortable in my own truth in all of it,
Mm,
and being totally at peace with that other people might want to live different ways of life,
mm,
and I think, yeah, there's nothing inherently wrong with any way of life,
yeah.
and
Because
if
we don't know.
we don't know, and
Mm,
like something like, I don't know, with all the genetic stuff happening and like I could see in our lifetime some innovations where we basically are able to take control like of like basically steer our own evolution by
mm,
deciding which genetics we want to pass on, and I could see technology coming forth where we raise like where children are grown in incubators and controlled by parents picking out which genetics they want to pass on, and so you don't have to carry the baby, and like part of me like is just like a little revolted where it's like but then I'm not trying to be like judgmental because if it happens, like I don't want to like look down on
mm,
people that do want to take that path, and like, and
yeah,
I don't think there's something wrong with the kid. I don't, but
mm.
I just also just know what I want, and
Yeah,
it's not it's not quite that.
yeah, it's like where your heart calls, like
Yeah,
it's that it's that like no, I want to experience nature as it is, because to me, the beauty about having the all natural roll out in your life is that you get to witness the miracles of God in yourself. Like
yeah,
you get to witness so much. It's like it's not gonna impress me if a world was created by Elon Musk or Zuckerberg or whoever. That's it's not gonna impress me, like I don't know, give me give anyone a book and some time to think about it in a group of people, like they'll probably come up with something similar. I'm not saying like these people aren't smart or capable of doing things in their own individual way, but it's not as impressive to me personally as just the fact that trees can grow out of the earth. It's not. Nothing will ever be. Nothing.
no,
Honestly.
I'm with you, man. That's so funny. But yeah, and I do like, it's hard for me to not see it in like this perspective where like part of what social media has become, like for good or bad, like it's the commodification of our attention.
Mm,
Like,
mm,
we like that's what's happened in the last 20 years, more so than I think other times in history, is like from a capitalist corporate perspective, they have started to view human attention as like a commodity that is extremely powerful and like an investment, basically,
mm,
where if you can get people addicted to your iPhone, like you're going to make a lot of money. And if you can get people addicted to likes, notifications, social media, like they're going to use your product and they're going to invest their energy into Facebook. Like Facebook without people is nothing. But
mm,
Facebook, like with billions of people on the network posting, talking to their friends, like that's what the actual value of Facebook is. And I think Facebook's acutely aware of that, that their role in
mm,
society and their position in society is dependent on us using their product, us being addicted to their
mm,
product. And
mm,
that's kind of how I see some aspects of the metaverse, where again, it's like, it's even more dissociating than social media, where it's like you're looking at a screen. They want to create a fully submersive experience that like it's gonna be cool. Like I'm sure the graphics are gonna be really cool. You're gonna be able to talk to people, connect, but like I agree, it's never gonna be as like incredible as like what we're already living in. Like if you want to go like play a crazy game where you can meet anyone and do anything and
mm.
like it's you're fucking waking up in it every day,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like go on a quest, go
Go
on a
on a
hike.
quest. I love that, dude. Go on
Honestly.
a quest.
Yeah. No, definitely, definitely. Um, but yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be probably loaded with advertisement as well, and
Yeah.
doesn't
All right.
sound nice.
So that's like going back to Ready Player One. Um, Kind of one of the interesting aspects that was like portrayed, interesting ideas that was portrayed in the movie is like the person that created this virtual utopia reality was actually like first of all, he's a genius, obviously, in the movie, but he also like had a good heart.
Mm,
And so he created this place like as a space for people to go be whoever they wanted. If you want pink hair, whatever, like you can go be free in this virtual space. And like the dynamic that I found really interesting in the movie was he had business partners, right? that then once it caught on and everyone's like playing this game, you know, and buying these tracksuits and kind of going into his virtual reality, then he had a bunch of like investors and stuff that are like, okay, it's time to introduce advertisements on the screen. It's time to introduce like paid tiers, you know, where like
Mhm.
you have different benefits for however much you're paying per month. And he
Yeah.
was like the artist, you know, the purist was like against all of that. You know, he just wanted to create a world for people to go explore and create and have fun. And I think that like probably is very true. Like, because I'm not fully anti-technology and I want to respect like genius, you know, and I like my iPhone. I think Steve Jobs progressed humanity.
Mhm.
And I want to respect like the innovators that take us into new leaps of technology. Um, and somehow like acknowledge that a lot of times what ends up being wrong with technology is not the original creator of the idea,
Mhm.
but it's the corporate culture that then starts icing the creator out of his creation so that they can
Mhm.
maximize profits and keep shareholders happy and more
Mhm.
focused on the business side of things than like the essence of the brand or the you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, no, I got you. It's like I wonder how these technologies would present themselves in a non-capitalistic world, like whatever world that is. Like, what if the end goal wasn't money? You know, I wonder if we just keep it at that, just at communicating it, and maybe these phones wouldn't be as addicting, you know? Like reality would look very different um,
Because
if
that's one
these,
thing
yeah, the motive wasn't money.
that's
Mm.
one thing that they do kind of along this vein of thought is like Apple hires the same people that do like the interior design of casinos. You know, they're called attention engineers. And it's basically just people that understand human psychology. And so the casinos hire them so that like when you're in the casino space, you never want to leave. So you don't even notice there's no natural light. So you don't notice if it's 8 p.m., 2 a.m. Like the air is always like crisp and cold. So you don't get stuffy, you know, and they
Mm.
hire these same people to design the iPhones, you know, and to come out with like what's going to be the most addictive user face. And it starts to lose its essence. Like even Twitter, like I'm kind of with you where like I love Twitter and I follow some really cool people and I like to go on their page and see what they're saying. And I feel like even in the last 2 years, I've noticed that now like it's like when you go on someone's page, you're scrolling through someone's page, it's like one tweet from them, and then
Ah,
it's like who to follow, and then it's like one tweet from that, it's like an ad, and then it's a promoted tweet, and it's like no, like when I go
yeah,
on someone's
get
page, I just
out.
want to see them. I just want to see what they're doing. Like I don't want any of that.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's definitely very annoying. That's why I like to take breaks from the internet. Like when I find myself holding onto my phone too much, and it's like sucking me out of my body into the device. Um, I just delete the apps. You know, sometimes my phone will break. I'll just keep it broken for a
Yeah.
while, stop using it. I'll switch to something simpler, um, with no storage on it, you know. And every time I'm taking these breaks, I'm taking them longer and longer consciously. Like the furthest I've gone now is around 3 months. Um, and that feels big for me, having grown up with the internet like happening, you know, becoming part of my reality. And just taking these breaks is so sobering to how absolutely insane these devices are and how mad the internet is. Because when I started coming back to Twitter this time, it took me 3 days of just observing, like just scrolling through, looking at how people are interacting. There's so much aggression. There is so much, these are my thoughts. There's so much like anger between people, even in their humor. Like, there's so much humor on the internet, but still like wicked in a way. And that's how I observe it. And it's like this time the way I approach the internet is just with a veil of humor. Like everything I'm taking with a grain of salt, whatever it is, whether it's deep spirituality or jokes or fear mongering, whatever it is. I'm like, that's the internet. That's not my reality.
Yeah.
That's not my reality, you know. And when I'm off the internet having these breaks, I get so much more done. I get so much more done. And not to say that the internet is not productive, because it can be. I get educated on the internet. I meet people, I have these conversations. But tapping out of that like helps me empower myself, take my power back from experiencing other people's reality as my own, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like someone's tweets as having to do with me. Like no, they don't, you know.
I haven't done a full like 3-month detox, but you're making it sound tempting. But what I what I did kind of just get really over, which is kind of along the lines of what you're saying, is like scrolling through, and I would like, there's so many messages, right? Of like, and even like, okay, I'm now like, I like astrology. I don't know that much about it, but it's cool. But I got really over like astrological messages because I'd be like scrolling, and like some of them are positive, some of them are negative, but I'd see like Aries, like now is a great time to like cut people out of your life that don't belong there, just like whatever. Or and I'm like, maybe it is, I don't know, but like I just feel like, you know what, like no, like I want to make all my decisions like based on me, you know, like I don't want to go consume a bunch of information and then have that seep into my conscious, my subconscious, and then be driven, whether it's consciously or subconsciously, by messages that I pick up on the internet. Like I don't want to live that way. Yeah, I think, and I think that also has changed like the way I use my platform. Is I want to like reword and like just like, yeah, just express myself in a way that isn't doing that, you know, where it's almost like more personal. Like when I'm saying things like I'm talking to myself, or I want to share stories or share my day, you know, but I don't want to say like what you should do, you know, because I don't want to be like that part of other people's lives where I'm like, okay, like you're scrolling through, you read something that has something to do with my day that has nothing to do with your day. Like don't internalize it and then live your life based on that, you know?
Yeah, yeah, no, I got that completely. Yeah, it's weird to even think about it because for me as well, how I approach tweeting is every tweet of mine is literally for myself. Like even if it's like you should do this, it's about me. Like I'm
No,
telling myself.
exactly.
But at the same time, you have to be careful with what you say out there because you are sharing with the world, you know? Like for me personally, you're still putting things out there. Um, like I have another Twitter account that's private with just like 4 friends of mine on it. And I tweet all my like insane thoughts over there, you know. But I'm very conscious of what I tweet on my public Twitter because if people are retweeting that, like that's my energy being passed around the world. And that's how I observe it. Like that's me, something I put, and it's eternal now. Like I could die and this could still exist. And that's scary to think about. So I'm there, like I try to be as conscious as possible with what I tweet, out of just respecting that we do exist in this world. And even if people think like Twitter is just on your phone, it's whatever, it's artificial, the person on the other end is real. They're absorbing it. It's affecting their life. Because I've been that person as well. I've observed things on Twitter that have affected my day and how I see things, and whether in a good way or a bad way. So it's important to both clean your space, I feel, and be careful of how you share with the world, not in a like fear-based way, just in a conscious way. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, yeah, do you have any last words that you want to share today? Or I usually end with just like an open, like you can either share, or if you have any questions for me about anything, go for it, you know?
Oh, okay. What's a dream you remember having recently?
A dream?
That's on.
Okay. I think, okay, this one, God, some of them are like more personal than others. I had one dream. I also had a lucid dream not too long ago, which I just love when those happen. But how it triggered the lucidity was I was wearing my favorite like Patagonia's like zip up, and I like was about to go into a party. I remember like being in line for a party and realizing like, oh, it's gonna be super hot in the party. Like take your Patagonia off and like stash it like behind a tree or something. And then I remember like in the dream, like going into the party, like having fun, and then leaving the party, and then like searching for my Patagonia, and like I couldn't find my Patagonia, and I started to have like feelings of like panic where I'm like, no, like this is my favorite Patagonia. Like, why did I take it off and like shove it under a tree? And then I like it like clicked for me where I was like, why are you stressing out, man? Like you're in a dream. Like your Patagonia is like hanging up in your closet right now. And so then I was like fully lucid in the dream, and I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you? Do you have any interesting dreams that have revelations for you?
I've had one similar to yours where panic induced lucidity in a dream. um I've been talking, like there was a while a few months ago where I was interested in the idea of liminal spaces and sort of these abstract spaces like between two other places. That's called the liminal space, like a place of transition. And I talk about it to my friends all the time, like, oh, like we'd enter an elevator and be like, oh, I don't like elevators as a liminal space. Like they're just not comfortable. And then train stations are a comfortable liminal space for me. So I had this dream where I enter an elevator with two other people, and I say, why are we in an elevator? And I repeat what I'd say in real life, like, oh, like I don't like them as a liminal space. And as soon as I say that, the elevator starts shutting like this way, this way, this way. Like it shuts like multiple times. And I'm like, I'm in a dream. and and as soon as I realize I'm in a dream, the elevator opens and I'm in a train station, and I just like decide, like the first instinct of mine is like, let's fly, and I just like take off and fly. And I love flying in dreams. It's such
Yeah.
a cool thing to do. Yeah, but that was a fun dream of mine.
That's awesome. I'm gonna
Mm.
elevators are not your space, eh?
No, I don't like.
Air guy.
Yeah, more of like take off and fly.
Nice, nice. All right. Well, I think that pretty much does it for today. But thank you so much for coming on, man.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me.
I've been wanting to have you on, and I've been trying to be better about doing consistent episodes. So I'm glad we could find a time to make this work.
No, this is fun. I love
Right.
it.
Awesome. Have a
Thank
good
you.
night, man. It's nighttime over in the UK, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Have a nice Thanksgiving dinner with your
Yes,
family.
thank you. I got
Yeah.
a bunch of Italian food lined up. No turkeys or anything, but I
I
got
love that. I love that. Just doing it your way.
yeah, awesome. All right. Have a good one, man. Thanks for coming on.
All right, cheers.